Good day everyone, so it's time for a bit of a main DPS Kokomi video. So we're pulling out the C6R5 Kokomi and we will be doing an attack speed sort of comp. And yes, I run my Kokomi at 135 energy recharge, contrary to every sort of recommendation that you'll get, just because I can. So this is the team comp that I've got: Kokomi, Jean, Yunjin and Fischl. Now Jean C2, Yunjin C6, Kokomi C4 all give attack speed, so this will enable us to attack really fast, and Fischl is just here for a bit of electro charge and for some other technical reasons which will become apparent later on. So first wave pretty easy to clear, Fischl quick repositioning, and now we're just sort of waiting for our cooldowns to sort of come back online. And whilst we're doing so, let's just talk a bit about what the team entails. So Jean is so important because she gives us that very Decenvenerous set sort of shred. So that 40% resistance shred, if you swirl the corresponding element, is really important. You can see there we actually sort of swirled Hydro, so this enemy is now actually weak to our Kokomi. And the other thing that Jean here provides is this Dandelion field, which can cleanse any sort of effect. So let's say Kokomi got frozen or she's afflicted by cryo. Well, this Dandelion field can actually cleanse it. So, and that in effect helps Kokomi to deal more and more damage, which is really awesome. And yeah, you can see here we're just sort of hitting the enemies. We're just not really caring about them, just smacking them around. This is the cool thing that you can do about Jean. You can just juggle enemies. So instead of having to worry about two enemies, we just sort of focus on the one, and then the other one's obviously now transformed. And this is the way in which you play teams like this. Absolute skill expression, and that's what makes it fun. It's not like Bennett Kazuha, you just press a bunch of buttons and win. It's how you play that makes the win. So that's why I kind of like that team. Oh yeah, speaking of auto win buttons, here is one of my favorite auto win buttons. It's called Yelan. You don't need a Kazuha, and you certainly don't need a Bennett to make her function at all. She's just a one-man army on her own, practically. And people said she was just like a side-grade Xingshu. Oh, that's just absolutely sad. In any case, I just sort of want to show you my Yelan as well, because, you know, Yelan's out, so a bit of Yelan content won't hurt. Now, here comes the floor a lot of you are skeptical on. I don't have any of my elemental bursts, so how are we going to do this? In fact, why aren't we even running a pyro character? Must be absolutely insane. Well, let me show you how this is actually done. So first things first, we're just going to freeze the enemies, and if you already noted, look at how many of those cryometers are already like down. And look at that, very sequentially we're breaking all of the sort of cryo shields, and it is almost as easy as that. Look at that. So the key thing here to note is that the attacks that Jean, Yunjin and Fischl provide in terms of casting Oz and so on are actually quite potent. I think a lot of people underestimate the potential to break this cryo aura. So look here what Yunjin's going to do, and look at what Fischl's going to do. She's going to absolutely break that entire cryo aura, and this is the secret to this team. If you understand how they work, they're just absolutely phenomenal. And look here, Kokomi's been afflicted by cryo, and what's going to happen? We're just going to absolutely cleanse it off with Jean. This is one of the great things about this team. It looks silly, it looks wonky, it looks awkward, but once you really sort of understand it, there's so much depth in it, and this is the thing that I love about it. It's all about how you play, how you manage your resources, not about what Bennett button or Kazuha buttons you press and therefore you win. So this is what I like, your skill carrying you, not just pressing a button. And that's what's great about that team. Speaking of just pressing buttons to win, here's the other team. So whilst this plays in the background just for your amusement, let's talk a bit more about the Kokomi team comp. Now obviously that team comp is not something that you can pull off at C0, C1. So if you've got a Kokomi at C0, C1, you'd much rather pair her with someone like Yelan or someone like Xingshu, have Kazu or Sucrose in the team, and then perhaps have some other unit that can do damage, like a Miko would be quite cool for the taser, Beidou, or you can even run like a sort of Ayaka, Rosaria, Kokomi, Xingshu or Yelan variant, and then you'll have like really good success. Any sort of team comp where Kokomi can be on field while everyone else is busy on cooldown is kind of like a winner. So this is why Kokomi and Ayaka work like really well together, because you've got all this like front loaded damage, and then Kokomi fills in the downtime where you don't really want to use someone like your Ayaka. So for me, the whole thing that Kokomi must just be a support is kind of wonky. I do think there is an entire DPS role that you can have with the character, and what makes her amazing is the fact that she's almost like this juggernaut. And a lot of people don't really appreciate this. You've got a character that's got an insane health pool, and she can regenerate any sort of damage being taken, which is kind of busted. I mean, Kokomi is just such a survivalist expert. She keeps the entire team alive, probably one of the best healers, and she still does a decent amount of ranged damage. I mean, the moment you put down your Bennett buff, your Xiangling Pyronado, if Magukenki decides, well, I'm going to dash to the other side of the room, you can't do anything. You need to then chase after with your Pyronado. If Golden Wolf Lord is flying around, or Perpetual Mechanical Ray is up there, busy trying to launch his attack, Kokomi can attack him, but a lot of other characters just don't have that flexibility. And this is the insane thing to me about the character. What they've done with her is really, really remarkable. Her healing gets converted into damage, and by the way, this is also why I brought Fischl, because if the enemies have a lot of cryo, you can trigger more damage from the Ocean Youth Clam set, because it's calculated like superconduct, which is also kind of a very nice synergy. But getting back to Kokomi, the fact that she's got all of this utility, that she's got the Ocean Youth Clam set, it just makes her such a sturdy unit, and I don't think people realize this. It's so difficult to describe or to sort of defend the character, because this game is very much riddled with a bias towards doing the most amount of damage. And even now, whilst you're watching this, everyone is just focusing on the damage, but no one sort of focuses on the fact that Kokomi just trivializes all of these bosses. It just doesn't matter how hard they hit, even if they had like a 50% increased damage that they'll do to the team, it just doesn't matter. It's the invisible things about Kokomi that makes her such an awesome character. And obviously, as a result, the developers couldn't just give her crit rate, crit damage, or higher talent multipliers, because if you had the damage that you can see here on screen available to you at C0, well, that's just the definition of power creep. I mean, she would just do everything that all the existing characters can do and more. So obviously, Kokomi, as you can see here at C6, is a valid main DPS. She's a valid main DPS in the sense of being comparable to other 5-star characters where they are at C0 or C1. But yeah, Kokomi herself will not have the high output or like the high damage ceiling that some of my other units have. Obviously, my Raiden Shogun, you guys have seen it, Ayaka, Shenhe, all of these other characters, they can just absolutely out-damage Kokomi, and that's fine, because Kokomi can just out-heal everyone else. She's the best healer in the game. She's the best juggernaut, and this is also why I kind of like Yelan as well. Yelan is also kind of like this she's more of an offensive juggernaut. Obviously she doesn't have access to the healing, but like Kokomi, this HP scaler of Yelan, she's like the opposite side of the coin, where she can do a bit more of the offense. And if you combine Kokomi and Yelan, well, that's going to be the next video, because these two are just absolutely busted and comfy, and that's what we appreciate. Thanks for watching. Cheers.